Well, man, listen, this is, as we say here, whenever you're here, this is your home. We're so glad that you made it. It's your first time. Make some noise. Let me hear you. It's your first time here.
Woo!
Come again. Let people know that there's a space here in East Austin that is centering the BIPOC artistry and the BIPOC culture, that is distributing over $350,000 over the last 5 years, that has a free studio, a free content studio on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for BIPOC folks, that is running an entire week where we have things like Black Women's Day of Rest, and we have a conversation around immigration and performances and all type of things all week. And the money that we raise, if you guys haven't scanned that when you came in, if you donate $5, $10, the money that we raise is going to 6 BIPOC-led grassroots organizations. These are organizations that are working on the traumatic effects of the segregation and the policy, the social policy of this city. Austin has a race problem, y'all. Okay? And I know, like, a lot of us, there's a lot of events going on, there's a lot of partying going on, but the displacement of Black people specifically in the city is crazy, okay? So Black-led organizations and BIPOC-led organizations, investing in them is essential to the health of the overall community, not just the BIPOC community, but the community of this city, the entire city. And that's what we believe in. So when we say giving to the givers, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the social workers, the teachers, the healthcare providers, the creatives, the ones that take care of us. Those are the ones that we invest in. And that investment has led to us having a space here. That investment has led to us distributing over $350,000 in 5 years. So it's real. So your participation, your presence here leads to community development. It leads to jobs. It leads to resources. We want y'all to grasp that. We want y'all to hold on to that and to hold on to it in a way where you share it. Spread the word. Let people know about this work, because what happens when we have our talents is that, people come and they extract it and they exploit it, right? But when you come and you do something here, this money is going back to the BIPOC community. This is a Black-led organization, y'all. DAWA means medicine in Swahili, and I want y'all to make some noise for that. So medicine. We're going to go into a conversation. Thank you, Arlan Hamilton, for coming out tonight. Make some noise, y'all. Come on. I mean, I am just so honored and so excited. And hold on. Her mom is in the building. Make some noise for her mom. Crazy.
Mrs. Arlene Sims.
Mrs. Arlene Sims. Okay.
Yeah, don't call. You got it. You got it.
We ain't tripping.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks
Carly, for making sure that this happened. Thank you. So we're just going to get it right into it. So this first part of our conversation.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me and building this space.
Right on.
And I know this kind of work is thankless and it's not easy, and it takes a special kind of person to keep it going. And I appreciate that, not just on South by days and
Right.
certain days of the year, but every single day.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
You are a real person.
Yeah, I am. I'm right here.
and that's what I like. That's what I like about you, because it is very thankless.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't do it for the thanks. If you're a giver, right,
Yeah.
you do it because that's just what you do.
Yeah.
Right? But as a giver, you need to receive.
Yeah.
Right? So thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, we're going to get into it. So I'm going to give you a word,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you're going to just kind of give me like your first response to it. Not the first word, it's not word association,
Yeah.
but just give me a couple lines. And that's how we're going to start the interview, and then we're going to go into it from
Okay.
there. Okay, all right. Equity.
Ooh, equity. I think of fairness. I think of ownership. I think of having what is naturally and deservedly ours.
Religion.
I may lose half the audience here, but I think when I hear the word religion, I think about organized, something organized, I think about something probably misunderstood. I think about the word atheist because I am an atheist. I think about missed opportunity, right? I could go someplace with that, but yeah, I think about. I think that somebody told me this. I didn't make this up, but someone said that religion was like the enemy of God or enemy of spirituality or something, right? Because because that organized the humans being human and organizing things and having a hierarchy and making things about guilt and shame and all that kind of stuff takes away from the beauty that is spirituality. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna leave that there. We're gonna come back to that.
Okay.
Okay. Queer.
I think about the time Andy Dick walked up to me in West Hollywood and just screamed, "Lesbian!" in my face. He was right, but it was still quite off-putting.
All right. Anxiety.
Ooh, anxiety. I think attack is the next word. I think anxiety is, I think of just the high-octane life that most black women have to live on a day-to-day basis. And I'm sure black men, I mean, I can't speak for them, but this absolute always being in fight or flight mode when we're not built to be. We're not supposed to always be in fight or flight mode. And I think we're constantly there. So we don't even have a chance to heal from trauma because we're constantly in it.
Outsider.
Maybe me. I think about myself as an outsider, but not in a sad way. Almost in a I feel very at peace being an outsider in most rooms because I can see things that other people can't see.
Underestimated.
Hey, that's my word. Underestimated. What I feel I and many other people I know are constantly underestimated, but also could be what I say in my first book could be your biggest advantage. Because if they don't see you coming, you come out of nowhere. And I know people who have done laps around the status quo because they were underestimated.
Right on, I'm smiling. TK, just open that package. Just open it, go ahead.
You got some M&Ms over there? What you trying to do?
I just heard it. Go ahead and open it. All right, you good? You got it? Okay, all right.
Revenue. Yes, well, my new book. It makes me think of my new book, Arlan's Revenue Playbook. Everybody here, if you go to Arlan's Revenue Playbook, you get it for free. You just pay for shipping. I want you to have this copy. It's the first book that I put out, not on a major publisher. So I have 2 books on a major publisher. This is the first one I'm doing independently. It's also, what most people don't know, it's the first of 3 in a series that I'm putting out pretty quickly.
Income.
Money, something that you should be able to turn on and off like a faucet whenever you want or need.
AI.
A tool. It's a tool. AI is a tool. It can turn you into Iron Man. I used to say this about investing in underestimated and underrepresented people. I would say this in my pitch deck 10, 12 years ago. I would say there is a wave coming. You can either choose to ride the wave or be crashed by it. And that's what I think about AI, is if we stay scary, you know how black people, we scary, we're not scared. If we stay scary about it, I think that we're gonna miss out on a lot. I do 100% think there's a ton of things we need to be careful of. But what I would hate to see happen is that we don't embrace it enough, learn about it enough, and we're just crushed by it.
Couple more. Home.
Where the heart is.
Bias.
I think it's like floating around like a virus constantly as we walk through life. Constantly, it's in tandem with underestimation, but we're just constantly, there's a bias towards what our potential is in someone else's eyes. They're constantly telling us who they think we are. And most of the time is in the first class line at American Airlines.
These are the last two, and they're related, but
Okay.
it's gonna help us transition.
Okay.
Venture capitalists.
Take it or leave them, you know. Like, I don't have a lot of reverence for venture capital or venture capitalists. I am one, but I don't have a lot of, like, I don't hold it on a pedestal. I think it too is a tool. It is a vehicle, a mechanism. It's just something that is part of our ecosystem as startup founders or other, but it is something that should work for us and not the other way around, because it is ultimately fueled by and funded by Main Street people. It's funded by, venture capital is ultimately funded by 401ks, pensions, and the like. And where do pensions come from? People who are teachers, people who are firefighters, etc. And it blows my mind that someone can pay into a pension, have that pension make its way to a Silicon Valley VC fund that has billions under management, but that maybe grandmother who was a teacher for 30 years, her grandson can't get a meeting at that Silicon Valley VC firm. So VC I have a love-hate relationship with it.
This last one is connected. Investor.
All of us. I think you even said it. I think you might have even said it, that we invest. I think you didn't say this, but it was something like we invest by being here. This is our investment, our way of investment. So everybody can be an investor, be a capital investor, be a time investor, but everybody can be an investor. It's not for the chosen few.
Okay. So we're going to jump into it. I think in reading your book, it's about damn time. If y'all haven't checked it out, it's also like on, audio. You can listen to it.
Yeah, I did
She
the
read
audio.
it. She read it herself.
Yeah, it's about damn time.
It's cool. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's written in a way where I feel like I was hearing your voice because I, heard the podcast and everything. So I could kind of hear your voice as I was reading it. But it's cool to enjoy it that way as well on the audiobooks. It's about damn time. Check that out.
Yeah, and Your First Million. I have two.
Yeah, well,
already.
we're gonna kind of
we're gonna
start.
get there.
We're gonna, yeah, we're gonna.
Oh, we're going to go on a
Yeah,
little
you know what I
journey.
mean?
Oh,
Yeah,
my goodness. Let me sit down.
On a little ride. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for the ride? Okay. I mean, so one of the main things that jumped out at me was just that you were very different.
Mm-hmm.
You were a very different child. Is anybody here like kind of like a different child growing up?
I can feel that.
I think, that's probably why people are here. You track, there's people can relate to that. I just want you to kind of tell your story about just that, just being different. Now, there's things that stand out for me.
You say what stands out.
Okay, yeah. I mean, y'all. So there's a story that she tells in the book about her wearing 6 different watches on her arms. I think this is third grade. Third grade. She had 6 watches on, so she could know what time it was in different places all around the world, because she was actually like really intrigued by the fact that the sun was up over here and that someone else was sleeping at a different time.
I still am.
Yeah, but I mean, just like some people can probably relate to this, like going to the store and getting some candy.
Yeah.
And then, being like, oh, I can sell candy at school, right? Anybody did that? Anybody out here did that? But there was one thing that stood out that I remember from the book was that you were really thinking about how you were thinking, and you were really thinking about what others were thinking.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want you to tap into that a little bit, because I feel like there's a lot of people in here that probably very similar. So how did that, tell us how did that like kind of help you with where you're at now?
I only know what I experienced. I don't know what is different and normal or odd, right? But I just remember being incredibly young, probably 4 or 5. And it could be wrong about the age, but I was so young that I don't remember how old I was. But I remember getting onto a shuttle bus that was taking us from a daycare to a school or to something. And I just remember, I can still see it. I can still see the Chinese restaurant in front of me and the freeway back here. And I just remember thinking, without knowing what the world meant, what that word meant, I remember thinking, everybody around the world will know of me. Right, like, isn't that a weird thought to think? It's weird if I thought it now. And I remember just that moment, and it's like frozen in time for me. And I didn't know what that meant, the world. But I just remember thinking, like, people are going to know my voice. They're going to know of me. And I always observed. I was such a little, like, Frasier kid. You know, I was just, like, watching, like, a psychologist. And I always wondered, when other children would be running around the playground, I would just say, I wonder how they're feeling. I wonder if they're okay. I want, you know, it was just always like a curiosity about what they're thinking. It was always really fascinating to me to compare what someone said out loud, even at like 6, 7, 8 years old, what they said out loud compared to what their inner thoughts were. And I just found that to be fascinating, and that is kind of what, you know, what I just kept doing, and every job I've ever had something to do with that, I think.
And how did that like contribute to your journey, like in terms of like, when you became older and things of that nature? Like, how did that
I mean,
play
just
into
having like that insatiable curiosity is how I got into so many different things. You know, it kind of came across as being flaky, but I was just experimenting and being in the lab and figuring stuff out, and I couldn't make certain things work. But ultimately, what it does today is it's the reason that I've been able to raise $30 million and generate millions of dollars separate from that for myself and other people, because I'm having conversations with people, and ultimately negotiation is conversation. And so
y'all heard that?
Y'all hear that?
Yeah.
And so I'm having these conversations with humans. I'm genuinely curious about them. And that turns into something on that front, right? It is why I said earlier to you, I said I've probably interviewed 300 people, maybe even more. And it's because I'm just genuinely curious about people.
And that curiosity took you were in music for a second.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Well, so when I was 13, I could not afford to see Janet Jackson when she came to Dallas. And I begged my mom, right, who's here, I begged her to go to the ticket, to go to the concert, and we couldn't afford it. And I had just fallen in love with Janet, not in a like, oh, I have a crush on her, but like in a, this is a black woman, I love her music, she's amazing kind of way. And my mom surprised me with tickets, and then I also won tickets on the radio, so I had a thing going. Yeah, so I had these tickets, they're kind of far back, and it was at the Starplex, when it was called the Starplex in Dallas, Texas, amphitheater. And I got there really early, and my mom sat out in our car, sat outside of it, and she put hoop earrings on me, like that. She put hoop earrings on me. She said, I want you to look like you're like 16 or 17, because I don't want anybody to talk, because you're 13 going to this concert. And my first concert was Janet Jackson. So I'm sitting there. I'm trying to remember your question too, but it was about music. So I'm sitting there, and I'm there early because I'm like, it's Janet, it's Janet. And I'm sitting next to two teenagers who are older than me. They're from Fort Worth, so they were really fancy in my book. So we were from all the way in Fort Worth of Dallas. And they were there early, and so we were just talking about, oh, did you see that show? Of course I saw that. Of course I saw the MTV special. I mean, who didn't?
Yeah, right.
That kind of thing. And this guy comes up to us. He walks up to us, and it was like pretty empty where we.
Is this like Velvet Rope with it?
This was Janet period.
Okay.
So this was '94.
Okay.
This was like Velvet Rope was a whole mood, but this was.
That's the way love goes. That was it.
Yeah. This was like breakout years.
Yeah.
And he came up to us, and he's like, "You all seem like big fans." And I said, "You better believe we are," something like that. I don't know. I was a little sassy. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he said, he kind of paused and laughed, and he said, "How would you like to see the show in the front row?" And the two, they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Hold on, I got this, okay?" I was like, "Excuse me, sir. My mom told me about people like you. We are not going anywhere, and you're not getting our tickets." I was like protecting. I was like, "Don't worry about this, I got it." And he like laughed, and he said, "Okay, how about this? How about you keep your tickets, and I'll walk you up to the front row, and then if I'm lying, you have your tickets." So I said, "It's okay, we can do it. We have time." So we go, we get up, and we start walking, and walking, and people are just like, come on in, and they're not stopping us. And we just walk and walk and walk, and we were just passing like the 10th row and the 5th row, and we get to the front row, and they're like, come on in. And we're in the front row at the Janet Jackson concert, my first concert ever, and I'm 13 years old. It turns out it was her husband, who wasn't out as her husband, only her boyfriend, but I didn't know him. I wasn't, you know,
He was a dancer, right?
He used to be a dancer,
yeah,
but he
yeah.
wasn't for her. But yeah, he used to be. He was mostly a videographer, and they went through some stuff, and you know, I think they're okay now. But yeah, back in the day, they were married, and he would just do that, and he would find people who seemed excited because she needs like a certain kind of. I mean, I've met her multiple times now, and I can know her. So she needs like a certain kind of energy in the front row, and she doesn't like that. Usually the people in the front row, very wealthy,
Right.
just sitting there with their arms folded.
Right.
She doesn't like that. She needs somebody who's like screaming their heads off, and they found me. So I lost my voice because I lost my mind at that show. And I remember looking back behind me, and I saw a couple, 2 men, and they were just like, they were so joyful and so happy, and they're singing every word. And at the time, I was in a religion, and I had been told that was evil. And I remember looking back, and I was like, that can't be evil, can it? Like, you just having one of those moments for a second. I was like, that doesn't seem evil. Okay, let me get back to the show. And I also remember, 17,000, however many people singing every single word of this black woman.
Right.
And just every race, every gender, everything you could see in that room, in that space, they were losing their minds over Janet. And I just thought, that's cool. And I said, in that moment, I said, whatever this is, I want to be around it a lot.
Right.
So that's the moment I decided to be in music, to be in live music. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what kind of jobs you could get or if you could get a job doing that. But that's when I set off on that path. And I found myself, by the way, I do that now. I give people front row tickets to Janet Jackson when I go to see her.
Come on,
yeah.
come on.
And I surprise them with it. And I do the exact same thing. I'm
As
like,
you should.
you hold your ticket,
Yeah.
come with me.
Full circle, yeah. That's dope.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I got to tell her that.
Did anyone ever be like, no, I got this, and try to talk to you like that? No.
So
my mom said.
Yeah, there was this one time it was a black mother-daughter, and they were in the rafters at this arena. And I was huffing and puffing. I was walking up because I wanted to go as far up as I could.
Wow.
So I went up there and I found them. I could just tell. So I went up to them and I was like,
breathe.
you all seem like good fans, like the whole thing. And they were like, yeah. And then it was the daughter's first time ever seeing Janet.
Wow.
And the mom had seen her like, I'm talking Rhythm Nation or something, right? Back in the day. So I said, you want front row tickets? Or it's like probably third row tickets. I said, do you want third row tickets? And they're like, oh, it's really far from here. This is a scam. We're like, what kind of scam is it? What am I scamming you out of? Like, I ain't trying to get your ticket.
This is the last seat.
Yeah, I ain't trying to.
Just a few rows down would be better.
I said the exact same thing. I said, I will walk with you. You hold on to your tickets.
Yeah.
And what she did was she sent the daughter. And she said, I'm not walking down there. But she sent the daughter, and the daughter texted her and said it was all good. And
Wow.
and I got a video of her afterwards, and she was like hoarse, and she was just like, she's like, Miss Hamilton, she's probably 5 years younger than me. She's like, Miss Hamilton gave me the life of my life and everything. And I was just like, I don't want anything. I don't even want her number. I don't want anything from it.
Yeah.
I just want that, chasing that feeling always of like giving somebody that feeling. So I ended up years later at 21. I started not on the Janet level. I started with a Norwegian pop punk band. Plot twist. And I was working at a bank lockbox doing data entry, and not just data entry, but 10 key by touch. So I was doing this. I had the checks, and I would encode them, and I would do it with this hand, and I would say the amount with this hand, and I was really fast at it.
I don't even know
but
what that means.
Okay, so a check is this piece of paper that back in the day.
It's a paper.
Back in the day.
When you write on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was as boring as it sounds, but at the same time, I was encoding about $1 million a day worth of checks. So I did clock that. I was like, there's money out here. Like, there's money out here. I'm just a cog in the machine.
Austin.
Yeah, I'm just one person. This is crazy, right? So I just clocked it. I do what I always do, which is observe. And I observe the way supervisors were, how other people were, my peers were. I just observed and took what I needed. But I was bored out of my mind. And so I was listening to music. I came across this band who had a cute song that I liked.
Well, how were you listening to music at that point? Like to hear a Norwegian or band?
So this is where it gets weird because I was listening to like, okay, what is it even called? It's like those little mini discs that you could record on back in the day.
Yeah. Someone gave you a mini disc?
Yeah, so I don't even know how they got onto the recorded mini disc. But it might be because the song was about Pink, and I really liked Pink at the time, so I was like, oh, let me hear this song. But anyway, I was listening to it one day working. I was like, this is so cute. It was obviously done independently. It was very kind of put together. And I said, well, let me jump on AOL and see if I can hunt them down.
Yeah.
And I reached out to them, and there were 4 Norwegian guys playing pop punk music, which I had to understand what that was after a while. And the main singer's name is really Torkel, but everybody calls him Toke. So that tells you kind of the vibe we were in.
Yeah.
Okay, Toke was the leader of this group.
Uh-huh.
And so I got in touch with him and I said, I would love to see you play live. And I'm in Dallas, barely hanging on. And he's like, well, we've tried to tour in the U.S. We tried once. We couldn't get any gigs and whatever. I said, well, if I can book you a tour, and I'm just a random person emailing him, by the way, on AOL. I said, if I can book a tour for you here, will you come out?
You're how old?
I would have been 21.
Okay.
Yeah. I said, if I can book a tour for you, will you come out here? And he's like, sure, if you can book a tour, like a whole tour, yes. So this was before, I wasn't Googling anything, okay? I was printing out MapQuest. Do you understand what I'm saying? Did any of these words make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you. I was printing out MapQuest. So what I did was I would go in the living room, because my family lived together in the apartment. I had Wednesdays off and one other weekend day. On Wednesdays, I would get all these like manila folders.
Yeah.
And I would give the marker, say this city. And then every week, and my mom knows this because she paid the bill. Yes.
She's like.
Yeah, she's accurate. Every week I would call different cities, call different bars and little clubs. And at first when I would call a club, like when I was so nervous, I was like calling it punk pop because that was the wrong way to say it. I was like, yeah, I have this band and they're from Norway, and they're like, what? Speak up. What are you talking about? By the middle of it, though, I would have the phone right here, and I'd be like, doing stuff. I'd be like, yeah, look, Snake, you get my guys on first, or right before the headliner, or we're walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it ended up.
Yeah.
So I booked a 2-month, like a 6-week tour.
Yeah.
A summer tour for them 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
They came out. I went there. Actually, it was just weird. But I went there. They came here. And it was me and 5, because they had someone, their brother with them. And it was me and 5 white Norwegian guys who all had piercings or high, colorful hair, going through Little Rock, Arkansas. And they refused to wear shirts because they were so excited about how hot it was in the United States.
Yeah.
So they would always wear shirts, and I'd have to peel them off of the roof of the van and tell them, put them in the drunk tank and do all this stuff. But they were we're still friends.
Yeah.
I'm 44. We're still friends.
So like I wanted to just have you share that with y'all, because like I think what started with you just thinking different and seeing things different. Yeah. But there's like a tenacity as well, so like adding that, like just like outsider. But I think the thing that a lot of people in here that may have felt like different, or may have felt, you weren't judging people. You weren't separating yourself from them. You were still curious about them.
I was curious.
And I think that really propelled you in terms of just being able to learn from all types of different people.
Oh, yeah.
And then also, like, not only that, but then having the tenacity to not be denied.
Yeah.
To find information and to put yourself in position. So those are things that I think really led to you becoming a business woman.
Yeah,
correct?
I mean, I ended up working with will.i.am, Tony Braxton, Coachella, Ultimate, people, CeeLo, but he and I don't agree on things, so I'm not gonna.
From just calling people on the phone on Wednesdays
I mean, it took,
You know what I mean?
that took 10 years to
Hey,
go from the garage band.
But
to
this is what I'm trying to set the table for them so
And-
they understand.
And I want to make something clear because you
Yeah.
said I didn't judge. Now, I just want
Okay,
to.
all right.
I just-
All right, we human.
But I want to let you know that I come from a long line of petty royalty, and I want to explain to you why.
Okay.
Are you ready, y'all? Hang on to your hats. My mother, Mrs. Sims, named me after her ex-boyfriend after my father was late to my birth. Petty royalty.
The way she just giggled about that?
Yeah, she was like, I sure did. So you understand, like, I have the capacity to judge.
No, look. I'm not trying to say you just perfect out there. But what I'm saying is I think the thing that a lot of people, that when you feel different, it's like you feel like you're above.
Oh,
or
no.
I see the world this way and everybody else is just crazy or whatever.
No.
You had a different angle and different perspective, but the curiosity I think is key to your success. And I just want to like lay that down for people so that you understand, like, being different is we're all different. But I think some people kind of like take it and they're like, well, I'm just so different. And, you know, it's like, no.
Yeah, they're
you know what I
precious
mean?
about it.
And I think that's an important thing to lay down so we can get into how that really was an asset to you being an underestimated entrepreneur. So I want to take us into the entrepreneurship, even though the tour management and everything, we could go.
Have the stories. You have it.
We could go, we could go into that, but we only have so much time, so I want to go from the all that, getting up in the silos, and then what? And then you leave that, and then what?
No, I was still doing that while I was figuring out Backstage. So I had there's a lot in between. That's why I have 3 books, and the first 2 are about this. So there was a lot in between. I was an alcoholic. I was always just not even head above water, just barely making it. And so many
What do you
years of
attribute that to? Like,
most. So much, so many things. Too much to get into here, but I would say, it's a lot of things that contributed to that.
Okay.
But I found myself at around 33-ish. I had started understanding what Silicon Valley was and what startups were. And I thought, I'm going to start, because I wanted to start a startup. So I was like, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about investing, because I know people get investment. So I'm going to learn what an investor knows so that I can be prepared to have that conversation. That's just how I approached it. And when I started learning about it, that's when I learned that less than 10% of venture capital goes to anybody who's not a white man in the United States. And they make up about 34% of the country. So those numbers the math didn't math for me. And that's when I said, I bet I could raise, even though I'm like broke as a joke, poor. I said, I bet I could raise $1 million for my company if I put my mind to it. But to what end? What happens next, and who's there with me? All these questions kind of came back to the same conclusion of, what if I raised a fund that was $1 million? That would be interesting. And then that fund could fund 20 people like me, and then that would be like the spark of something, the seed of something. So that's really where it came from, curiosity.
We got to give your mom a shout out. That's her idea of Backstage Capital.
That
right?
is.
Shout out, Mom.
I'll tell you the name.
And it connects to music, right?
The name is her idea. Absolutely. So we were living, we were Thelma and Louise. We didn't have any money. We were trying to make it work, and I think we were in a rental car in Pearland in Houston, and it was nighttime.
Shout out Pearland.
Yeah, I think we were going like CVS or something. We were doing something because we were like living day to day out of this hotel. And at the same time, I'm trying to raise like a venture fund. It was just crazy.
Come on.
And I said, I told my mom, because I was going to call it Interlude Ventures.
That was the name of your magazine,
So
right?
my magazine was called Interlude, so I was going to call it Interlude.
We don't got time for that, but that's a whole other.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
But go ahead.
But it's all in the books. You can get the books.
Get books.
But I thought Interlude, even though it's a beautiful magazine name, it sounds too fleeting for what I'm trying to build. So I need a different name.
Yeah.
So then I just said to my mom, kind of in passing, I said, I'm looking for a new name for my venture fund. And she's like, okay, she's whatever. She's like, okay. And I said, so if you could take the next few days and just, something comes to mind. And she turns just immediate. She goes, what about Backstage Capital? And I was like, She goes, well, you work in live music and you help people backstage. What if you did that for founders of? She's just like, giving me the blueprint right in front of my eyes, and I'm like, I was like, yeah, that sounds cool, and I'm like, oh my god. But she still wants her 15%, so I had to keep it low. I couldn't freak out too much. So she came up with that, and I'm like that's absolutely brilliant because it's exactly what I want to do.
But you found out about Silicon Valley, and now you got the name, which also it also connects with you trying. This is something that, again, like, I just think your mind is like really special. That you challenge yourself even to this day to try and get backstage, because my wife is one of those people. She can get backstage at a lot of places too. She, but like, just to like, all right, I know I'm Arlan Hamilton, but like, I'm gonna try to get backstage at this Anthony Hamilton show. I don't know nobody. You know what I mean? Let me just pull up.
Yeah, I do that.
That's just cool. I just think that's cool that you're just like, do I still got it? Can I still get backstage? It's
literally what I'm like, I wonder if I can. I mean, I could easily just buy the ticket or get the backstage or call somebody who even works on the tour.
Right.
But I'm like, I wonder if I could get back there. And I do. And I find my way back there. I did that like a year ago at a pink, it was like at a festival, Bottle Rock Festival. And I was just like, they had Snoop, it was like his new group that has like Ice-T and Snoop and all these
the
different
West
people.
Coast thing,
and they were all there, and I'm like, I didn't even know they're gonna be here. So I went up to somebody and I was like, I tried all these different methods, and then what I ended up doing was bartering. She didn't know me, but I ended up bartering a phone call with her to help her with her startup, and she was working the backstage. So people were coming back. She was like shutting them. It was a black woman. Mostly white group. She was shutting them down. You can't come up here. And we were talking, and she was, and then by the end of our conversation, she was like, go on up. And I watched it from stage, actually. She let me into the stage area. Yeah.
I think these are all just little pieces that lead to your success, I feel like. And this is what I'm trying to lay this on the table, is like, and these are things that you, when you had money, when you didn't have money, these are things you did, and you're still doing them to this day. And I think that's important. The consistency of that is important. But let's go into that moment. You're just looking up stuff online. You got the name. How do you get into this world?
I mean, it took me, I can't remember if it was 2.5 years or 3.5 years, but it was a long time of asking people for money and not getting anywhere with it. Getting people laughing at me on calls, or shutting me down or ignoring me. I had one woman towards the end of it laugh me out of a room that I had gotten into a meeting. That moment was really defeating, but it couldn't have been because I'm here. But it was, I remember the conversation, but I couldn't pick her out of a lineup, so I don't know where she is right now.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So at the time, it was pretty devastating. But because I said I'm going to invest in 100 companies by 2020, and this was at a place that was like investing in a lot of companies. But she like laughed, and she's like ended the meeting, and she's like, "You got to come back when you're more realistic."
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And so we reached 100 in 2018.
Come on.
So, yeah.
Come on, hey.
But at the time, I didn't know that was going to happen, and so it got me for probably a good day. But then I was like, we gotta keep going. We gotta keep moving forward.
Right, but you have no capital.
No.
You staying with your moms in a hotel.
Yes.
I mean, like.
Yeah, and then I ended up at Stanford. They were doing a 2-week boot camp for to teach people how to invest. It cost $18,000 to do this 2-week boot camp. So I got a scholarship that they were giving to have parity with women. So you had to jump through these hoops, but I got that scholarship in like a few days. I had to do it fast. And then I did like a crowdfund online. I got like $2,000. And then I negotiated with them, and I said, I can't do the rest of this right now. I said, I will do payment plans for as long as it takes. I just need to be in that room.
Right.
So it was catered, and that was the food that I had. Like when I didn't have dinner. It wasn't like I had no money.
Tupperware.
It was one-way ticket. I stayed it was a 2-week program, and I had a place to stay for 1 week. And that's how I ended up at the airport. That's how I ended up starting to live at the airport. But it was in that boot camp. I took everything I learned, and it was back when I had stage fright, so I couldn't talk to anybody. So it was weird. But I learned so much. And one thing I learned, I remember Jason Calacanis was one of our guest speakers, and when he came in, and I was gonna say no shade, but this is completely shade.
Yeah.
He's an investor who like is now has the ear of like he's Elon Musk's little lap boy, and he has the ear of all these different people.
Okay.
He has no spine, and so I don't mind saying that.
I mean,
he really does not have a spine.
Yeah.
He has potential, but he has no spine. And I mean, it's just true.
Look.
But I remember when he was a guest speaker, he wore sunglasses, and he walked in and he was like, "Oh, I'm doing this between things," you know. Like he just had to let us know how busy and important he was. And that was the biggest. I don't even know if I've even said this to myself yet, but that was the biggest lesson I learned in those 2 weeks. I learned everything about how to invest, cap tables, term sheets. I learned everything in those 2 weeks. But the biggest lesson I had was when Jason Calacanis walked in and didn't have time for us, even though he was someone we had all the time in the world for. And I knew exactly what I wanted to be and what I did not want to be. And I said, if he treats us like that, and we paid $18,000, which I did not, $18,000 to be in here, how does he treat founders of color? How does he treat women when they walk into the room? What time does he have for them? So I was like, I'm going to be the antidote to that. I have to be.
Come on.
And I took
Come
that.
on. Make some noise for that. Come on, man.
So it was there where I met a woman named Susan, who was she's around my age. She had worked at Salesforce for a few years, and she and her husband had done very well there. And she was looking into doing like impact investing. So we started talking. That was May 2015. September 2015, she invested $50,000. She was my first investor. And she gave me $25,000 to invest in someone else and $25,000 to set up shop.
That's crazy. That's not like, it's not a lot of money, like 50,000.
Oh no.
You know what
to
I
me,
mean?
it was all the money.
Yeah, I get it.
It was everything
but
I
you know
needed.
what I mean? Yeah,
but it was
that's what you needed, but-
$50,000 to her. It was a lot of money. To me, it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And what I did with that is,
I know you turned it.
Soon as I turned $50,000 into $30 million.
Come on.
I mean, that's what I did.
Come on.
Because as soon as she gave me that money, I was in the parking lot of a grocery store that I had been using as my office. And I had my bags with me. I didn't have anywhere to live that night. I had nowhere to live that night. And I got the yes and the wire from her. And all I did was a little dance. You know, I was like, woo, we made it. I booked a flight to LA because this was Silicon Valley. I'd been living at the airport. I booked a flight to LA because I had friends there. I had somebody I knew there because I had, worked in music, so I knew people. And it was back when WeWork was like exciting. So I got a WeWork. I could print, I could print papers and do all that kind of stuff. Had a conference room, and I got to work. And I knew who I was going to invest in because I had been working with founders for 3 years, and I got to work.
Make some noise, y'all. Make some noise. I want to go back to the sleeping in the airport thing because I just on some I missed a flight type thing. I slept in the airport, but this was
not that.
No, I get that. So I'm just trying to figure out. So they saw you sleeping on a regular basis. You were just cool with somebody? Because I feel like at a certain point, people are gonna be like, you sleeping in the airport.
Yeah.
How did you pull that off?
I gotta give there's always these people looking out for you, even if you don't notice it. So I would move locations, not drastically enough, in my opinion now, but I would move locations. I wanted to be in a certain place that it was such a dehumanizing situation that I needed to have something that was literally grounded. So I needed to be around something that I've gotten to know their cadence, and I know what music they're going to play, and I know this person gets in at 10. I needed that, so I didn't go too far. But when it was nighttime, what I did was I told myself, "You've just missed your flight." That's how I got through every day. You've just missed your flight.
Come on, man.
But at nighttime, that was really bad. So that's when they had police on Segways.
Yeah.
And I was every night I thought, I'm gonna get kicked out. I'm gonna get kicked out. And this is where I say people are looking out for you. There were a lot of black security that I know that I was there.
Yep.
And just kept walking.
Yep.
And, the reason I stayed at the airport to begin with was because I'm where can I go where there would be access to food if I can get money, and it's indoors? Because we talk about homelessness, people think if you're not under a bridge, then you can't be homeless. But that's obviously not the case, because most people who are homeless are in cars or in shelters or in different places. But the reason I stayed at the airport was the food situation, but also it was like the safety situation. But it was also, I thought if I sleep, I mean, I did in Hollywood have to stay outside, but I thought if on a regular basis, if I just like lived on the streets, I don't think I could come back from that. So I went to like, okay, let me go here. And then the big challenge was, am I going to get kicked out of this safe space? Because you're not supposed to, and I looked it up, you know, it's illegal to do that. You can't stay there if you don't have a ticket. But I just think some people are looking out. I just really do. Yeah. And I know there's like at least three people here saying it was God. Yeah, it's okay to think that. very well could have been.
I mean, what people may call God is, you know, I think when we're talking about the spirit, I think we're talking about is alignment with purpose, right? And like, so you said you had a thought. Was it on the bus or what you saw? People are gonna know me.
Yeah, it was get on the shuttle.
Get on the shuttle. Yeah. Where did that come? You know what I mean? So I think what people may be associating with God is just that connectivity, right? Yeah. That spirit that
I think there's something universal.
Right. Yeah,
I think there's something there for 100%.
sure. I mean, because to me it seems like it's been flowing with you throughout your entire journey. Which is like really, really inspiring. Yeah. I want to, before we open it up, like I want you to just talk about a little bit. There's probably some people in here that might be thinking about getting into venture capitalism or investing or things of that nature. So can you just talk a little bit about what that looks like, or what you would recommend like for somebody like maybe not sleeping in the airport, but like, you know, as part of the journey.
I would not recommend sleeping
in the
airport.
But like, you know, like what steps should people take now to get on that journey, to be, you know, move towards what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you from my perspective, and I think you take what you want from this, right? Because I'm in a different place with it. I would have said something different a year ago, 10 years ago. I think ultimately I have been saying this one thing though, which is, like I said, venture capital is one resource, one tool. It is not to be held in any kind of high regard. It is just a thing. Okay. Just like money. It's just a thing.
I love that you say that, because you deal with money, but
I deal with so much money.
You don't worship money.
I don't worship.
You don't hold it.
I used to have, you know how people say, what's your relationship with money? I used to have a relationship with money, and that was the problem. Because money could break my heart. Money could betray me. Money could do all these things. I would lusted after it. All of these things. Yes. I don't have a relationship with money now. It is an object. In most cases, it's actually digits on a screen. Right. You know, it's ether too. So that's why it flows, and that's why it comes here, and when I need it, and it goes there, and I spend more than I make. This is something that's interesting. Because I am not a financial guru. I am not someone to look up to when it comes to that, because I spend, and I don't mean like on things, I mean on investing in people and in catalyzing others. Like we just put a young black man through Harvard Law so that he could be on the other side of the thing. But I spend more than I make, right? So there's that. But getting into venture, I think that like my venture fund, I stepped down from it in December as managing partner after 12 years working on it. Okay. And
hold on, let's talk about that just for a second.
Sure.
Let's try to remember, put a pin in that.
Yeah, sure.
Why did you do that?
I had been working on it for 12 years, and as you can hear in this conversation, every day was uphill battle. Every day, because I got the first 50,000, and then I raised 30 million, like 25,000 at a time. Can you do the math on that? You know, and then what I will say, I got 6 million of it from Mark Cuban. Okay. So, and I want to I give people their props. Like I said, Jason Calacanis is a spineless goat. Mark Cuban is a real one. Is a real one. Yeah. And he wants his money back. He wants to make money, but so it's not charity. Right. You know what I'm saying? He's like, this is an investment. I believe in you. Yeah. But it had just been an uphill battle, and it had been a very lonely uphill battle because of so many things. And never easy. Then we went through COVID, and then we went through layoffs, and then we went through the bubble burst and all these things, and I was just like, I'm so burnt out, I don't even know like if I'm going to be like committed or something. I was so bad. And at the same time, I thought, man, Backstage, we can't wind this down. Like Backstage has so much potential. We have done so much. We invested in 200 plus companies.
Great.
We have so much potential. We were invited into the OpenAI investment. Like we have all these things that I built and we built as a team. So I said, I want to see it go further than I could ever take it. So these two things were happening at the same time. And so I found that partner. We have a partner named Brittany Davis, a Black woman in New York, who's been with us for more than 6 years. She and two other people, especially one group, have taken over Backstage day-to-day management and the management of like all the limited partner, which is our investors, all of that relationship, all of that. And I'm still the largest stakeholder of our management co. And I consult and I bring opportunities to us. And now we're raising a $200 million fund. So let me say it like this. If you're going to think I'm lying, but I'm not. If I were handed $200 million today, I would be like, okay. I would absolutely put it to work, but I wouldn't be ecstatic about it.
Yeah.
So I wanted people who are ecstatic to do the work and keep taking the legacy forward.
I get that.
So I stepped back in December officially, and it was a whole thing. It's like a whole thing that we're doing. I speak with the team maybe once a week in earnest. I'm always available, and I get to bring some great opportunities our way. Great investors, great companies to invest in, all of that. But I don't do that, day-to-day kind of thing. And I think it's the best. I think it's obvious, completely obvious that it's the best decision that I've made since starting Backstage. Because now it has these wings, if I wasn't going to be happy and excited to get $200 million, I shouldn't be at the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you say that thing in your book, it's about like if you can't see yourself being excited about it 5 years, then you kind of just it's not your thing. So I think you got to that point, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm not going to be excited about this in 5 years, so let me
tell you what I do get excited about.
Okay.
When like somebody who I teach makes $1,000. They get their first $1,000 client.
Yeah.
Or when
it's like people doing
I make money on YouTube or something. Like, because I'm an entrepreneur at heart who took a detour to build a movement, and now I'm like, oh, I have to live. I can't do this because I think everybody wants me to do it.
Right.
And I remember when it was rumored a couple of years ago that I was stepping down, and I got text messages from people I would never imagine in my life saying, you can't do it. And I'm like, whoa, this is weird. And I felt like I couldn't at that time. I felt like that. This time I was like, it doesn't matter what they think because they don't have to do this every day.
Right.
And this is the right decision.
Right.
Like ultimately they will see it. Some people, I have people saying, oh, she got fired. And I'm like, baby, I own it. I can't get fired.
Baby.
Yeah, I can't get fired. But I just don't care what people who aren't with me going through the trenches think or feel. Or I don't care. That's what I say. If you didn't give birth to me and you don't pay my rent, why are we having a conversation?
Listen, I respect that.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back to, because I was just curious.
Yeah.
It's on my own, but we're going to go back to just like 3 things to wrap this up. 3 things that someone that's out there right now thinking about, okay, wow, this is inspiring me. She didn't know much about this. She just went and learned it. Where should they start? What should they do?
So you're
3
saying
things.
To become an investor?
Become an investor, get involved in that world.
Again, this is from my perspective today. So you got to do what you got to do. My perspective today is we absolutely need people who look like us in these rooms, building these funds, having hundreds of millions and billions under management. We need that. That's why I still put my name to that industry. But for a higher quality of life, my suggestion to you is to make enough money as an entrepreneur to become an angel investor.
Okay.
And to know that you can be an angel investor today. If you have $100 or more in extra dollars, you can be an angel investor on a Regulation CF, Obama Days, Jobs Act. You can be an investor in a crowd equity funding. And to me, that's exciting. We have multiple of those that we've done, and I would so much rather have a conversation with 500 people who invested 500 each than one person who invested 10 times that in one fell swoop. Because, and with the rare exception of a couple of people who I'm thinking of, like Holly Laveau, who is a true the GOAT, you know, she's backed us so much, but like, or Cuban, but like the power of the crowd and the power of community is so much more important.
You heard that, yeah?
It's so much, like this room right here,
Thank
if y'all got together and said, okay, we're all gonna invest $100 into one company that is on Reg CF so it can do it, right? They take care of it. That, you know, whatever amount that is, that's a few $1,000s, and that's powerful. But not only did they get your money, now they have, okay, can you promote us? Do you wear the T-shirt? Can you make some phone calls if we need to? We're coming through this town. Do you know anybody who can show up? That is powerful to me. So if there's still somebody who wants to be a venture capitalist, all power to you. Just know that it will be really tough unless you're independently wealthy or you have a rich person in your family who just likes to give you money. It is a tough road, and it is a thankless job.
Yeah.
And I think you can get a job at a VC fund. Like, we need you in those rooms, but don't expect it to be like this very, you're going to see some fast traction with it. You got to be like, it truly has to be your activism is to do that.
Okay.
So I think an even more leveraged way is to get together every month with a group of 3, 4, 5 people, have dinner, talk, chop it up, talk about your lives, and say, okay, who are we investing in this month? And is it money? Is it time? Is it bringing customers to the yard? What is that? Who are we investing in? Because when you do that, when you're raising a VC fund, you know how many, I was going to say white people, but do you know how many, do you know how many people you have to talk to and pretty much beg for a lot of money? And they don't have they have a different, did you know that rich people have a different calendar?
Yes.
Like they live on a different calendar. It's their own, has their family crest on it.
Yeah.
They don't care about your timeline. They don't care about your deadlines.
This is real talk.
It's just real. So if you're up for that, for the payoff, more power to you. I can't tell you not to do it because I did it.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, having done it, I ultimately get the most reward from what we do internally. And if that means smaller dollars, then so be it. But I just told you, my mom and I put someone through Harvard Law. We put someone through at Oxford. We had the first scholarship in Oxford University's history for a black scholar. 4-year full ride.
That's crazy, because we talking about how many hundred a year? How many?
Yes.
How long they been
the
there?
oldest there is.
That's crazy.
And there are people, like I remember there's the guy who co-founded Twitter who's also on their board. You know, he can throw $5, $10, $20 million anytime he wants. Mine came from my book deals. And it was hard earned and hard won and didn't go to other things, you know. But at the same time, I can go to sleep. I can say yes and no to things. I don't have to call, is it okay if I do this or say this? Right. Can I call Jason Calacanis a spineless goat?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. This is exactly what I wanted people to hear tonight. Yeah. And I'm glad that there's such a diverse group of people here to hear from you, because, you know, it's like, you know, this whole American dream and bootstrap, they still selling that. They still, you know, like the YouTube videos and everybody. Yeah. And like, you know, it's not that people can't do it. You're not saying that people can't do it, but there's a reality to it. There's a
I'm saying be strategic, intentional, know the game before you start playing it so that you don't spend 3, 4, 5 years being hurt by the game. If you already know it, you're like, oh yeah, I knew that roadblock was on its way. I knew that was going to be some whatever, right? Like if you know that and you still want to play the game, by all means. You need to be the person who does it. You know what I compare it to? Any of us who have had any family member or ourselves in a hospital know how amazing a great nurse is. And I say, like, it's difficult to be a nurse, but if you want to be a nurse, that's who we need being nurses.
Thank you.
Like, we need the helpers, right? The givers to be the ones who want to, right?
That's right.
Like, if everything I've said this whole time makes you say, oh, I want to do it more, that's what we need in those rooms.
Right.
because those are the ones who are going to be able to face it.
Right.
Yeah, and that we must be represented there. It is non-negotiable.
We're gonna end with that and open up for some questions. But I just want real quick, what's going on with this book?
So this is Arlan's Revenue Playbook. It's the first in a series. So I have It's About Damn Time, then I have Your First Million. They were both put out 6-figure deals on major publishers, right? So you can get them. You can get them at stores, independent stores, my audio. And this one is the first one I've done independently because if I wanted this information to get out to everybody as soon as possible. If I were to put it through a major deal, not that I have a problem with the major deals, because I went through them and I appreciate them, but if I had waited, it would have taken 18 months or so to get this out. And I need you to have the information today. So this came out like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago it came out. So if you go to arlansrevenueplaybook.com, you get it for free. You pay $5 shipping anywhere in the world right now. That may change. But you pay $5 shipping. And I brought 20 here, and I've already given them out.
Okay.
But what I did was I have like hundreds of one-on-one calls with people each year, and I had 22 that I distilled and put into this book of they're working on something major. How do we distill that, give you all the takeaways that somebody might have paid me thousands of dollars to get? Let me give you all the takeaways. So it's about building. It's about pivoting when you need to pivot, coming out of a lifelong career and you're trying to figure stuff out, getting laid off, starting YouTube. We're talking about YouTube. I really drilled down on YouTube. Talks about building communities and memberships. And basically, it's ultimately about how do I make more money whenever I need to, whenever I want to, without burning out, as it says over there, without burning out. And how do I do that without the number one question that's asked of me every day, which is, how do I get investment?
Yeah.
No one is coming to save you.
Say it again.
No one is coming to save
One more time.
No one is coming to save any of us, okay?
That's right.
So my take on it is if you can build that muscle of being able to make money in a very sustainable way with integrity, of course. But if you can build that muscle of being able to generate capital when you need to, then you take out the equation of being beholden to somebody else and their whims and their calendar, their family crest calendar, right? So this is what this book is about. And then it's going to have another couple of series, couple books to it. But I teach on YouTube. Anybody watch my YouTube? Yeah. So if you go to itsaboutdamntime.com, it'll take you straight to my YouTube channel. And I give out 30, 40-minute teachings every other day. I just tell you exactly, okay, this is how you make money. This is how you do it. You do this, and you do this step, and you do this step. And because I need us to have more wealth, and I need us to have it faster. So I'm trying to give you all the keys so you can do that. And Ty back there, I see you, Ty. Ty is in this book. Raise your hand, Ty. She is in this book. She's featured in this book.
Hey.
Yeah, she's featured in this book. But yeah, so you can ask her about it. Yeah. But Ty, tell him what you said on the post yesterday. What has happened?
A lot has happened. Okay, so.
Just the one sentence of what happened, your income.
Oh yeah, I've 2x my income since August, and I was already doing well on YouTube before I met Arlan, and she's just showing me how to just doing what I already do, how to really
2x.
It's more than 2x, but.
Okay, you wanted to be modest about it, yeah. So she's more than 2x her income since August. Okay? So it's right here. It's right here. It's not over there in this far off land or learning this whole other language. It's right here. And so many of us in this room, the givers, right? Tell me if you relate to this. You don't charge a lot of money because you want a lot of people to have access to it. I'm about to read you all. You want your people to have access to your services, so you don't charge them a lot. And then you don't make enough, and then you can't do your services for anybody. Okay? Raise your hand if that hits you, right?
Been there.
So what we're going to do is we're going to charge more to the people who can afford it. We're going to go out to them so that we make enough money to survive and thrive, so that then we can do whatever we want in that extra time with the people we're trying to serve. So for instance, you make money from people who can afford it. So then that gives you like half the week off. You go and do free workshops for people who can't afford it.
Yeah.
Or you make something that scales like a class or something, right, for the people who can't. But if you try to just lower your rates for everybody to be there, it's going to sink the boat, right? So that's one of the things that I'm trying to teach people is like, you don't need an investor. You don't need that. If you have a current company, you don't even have to change the company you're doing. You just got to look at it a little bit differently because it's right there.
I have loved every second of this.
Thank you. I have too. Thank you.
But, all great things kind of come to an end eventually. We're not quite at the end, but, like, I definitely want, like, y'all to have an opportunity to just, ask a few questions. I mean, it's not like one of those things. We're going to ask as many questions. I don't know how much time, but, let's get some questions off.
Yeah, we'll start.
Let's see what's going on out here. What are y'all thinking? What questions? Okay, here we go.
So I'm someone who struggles a lot with rejection, and I remember you saying about, I noticed you said the word defeated, and we talked about the woman who laughed you out the room.
Mm-hmm.
And even like being homeless, how do you not stay stuck in rejection? How did you move past that from where you started to where you are now?
So the question was, just so people can hear them, the question was, how do you not stay stuck in rejection?
Today, the answer is, like, it doesn't happen overnight, but the more you think of this, the easier to become, is I really do think about the source of the rejection. I really do. Would you trade places with that person's life if you had a choice? Or the person who rejected you, the person who put you down or underestimated you? Do you want to be them? And if the answer is usually no, right? It's like, oh, I don't want that life. I definitely don't want that haircut or whatever. But it's like, I don't want that life, right? My skin is moisturized. I don't want that. And that really helps me because it's like, okay, I'll say it like this. I can't be offended by someone I don't respect.
Come on.
Okay?
Come on.
Right?
Come on, bars.
So I think about the source, and it's not easy. Like I said, like I still feel rejected. I cuss somebody out, to myself. I can't believe they did that. But it's more like I have this one life, and I have things to do.
Come on.
And this person, maybe you could call it victimized me. They victimized me once. I'm gonna let them do it over and over again in my thoughts. Let them live rent free here. What are they doing? What are they thinking about? They still look like that when they go home.
Still
you know what I'm saying? Like when it happens, like this lady, like I was being a little facetious, but honestly, I promise you, if I met her at South by, I would not know it was her. This woman who had so much effect on me for a day or two, I don't know who she is, and it's because she stayed where she was. That was her peak.
Right.
She was meeting me on my way somewhere else.
Right.
So of course there's rejection, and also it's a numbers game. All day long, I have a whole chapter in It's About Damn Time about the numbers game. Because if you're doing anything where you're getting constant yeses, you're not challenging yourself. You're not thinking big enough. So of course you're going to get no's from people who are not on the frequency. Of course you're going to get no's from people it's just not for them. That's okay. But if you're getting yeses, it's like, oh, this is on easy mode. I don't know, am I doing what I'm doing? But if you're getting no's, that means you're closer to the next yes. When I was raising at the beginning, I'd have to get like 100 no's to get one yes. So I'm like, you say no, great, thank you. This has saved me some time. Let's go to the next. That's how I do it.
And luckily, you're in the house of yes. We want to help y'all. The rejection, we know it's out there, but in here, up in DAWA, we want y'all to succeed. We want to invest in you. We believe in you. So you don't got to worry about that up in here.
Yeah. And it's easier said than done. Like, we're human. We're just flesh and bone. But man, you can. Your mind is so powerful. Your mind will make you believe you are whatever you tell it.
That's right.
Whatever you say to it, it will believe. So change the narrative in your mind.
Yeah. Come on. Anybody else is looking around? Yeah, go ahead.
Hey.
Thanks for sharing your story. I was really inspired.
Thank you.
I have a question because I haven't been laid off, but I recently did leave my job, and so I'm used to doing like government work, nonprofit work, and realizing that's just not
Yeah.
So what is your advice for somebody who's kind of switching back over to the for-profit side, for staying in touch with some of the values, that brought me into like the nonprofit world or government work? How do you hold on to that when you're moving into this realm of like, being an angel investor or even being an entrepreneur, especially in terms of what you were saying about basically like tiered pricing, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the question was about advice on transitioning from a nonprofit situation into something that's more corporate or more for-profit.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship. Okay.
Holding on to the values without sinking the boat.
Holding on to the values without sinking the boat.
The very first part, there's 3 parts to this, and then there's different chapters. The very first part is called Transitioning from Traditional Careers to Entrepreneurship. And it's because so many people are going through it. So there's absolutely all kinds of information here for you. But I would go back to, when you have a nonprofit, it doesn't mean you don't make income. It means that the income you make is used to put back into it and continue the work that you do. So you still have to have that skill of making money in a nonprofit, right? It may be from different sources, but it's the same. So you can bring that energy into your entrepreneurship, and I think you just can remain rooted in why you're doing it. The people it's the same thing on the nonprofit side. Who are you serving? Why are you doing it? Why are you waking up every day to do this thing when you could do a million other things? When you could take the easier road? Why are you doing it? As long as you stay tapped into that, and then whatever, like, if we all agree right now that whatever we're being paid at our jobs or charging our customers, we're being paid too little, like that, just a blanket, I don't even have to know the numbers to know that that's the case. It's a discount. I am discounted and you're welcome, right? If you know that, then it is, I think if you spend some time with the book, you'll get more comfortable raising prices. I do this too. I still have to do this because I'm very much in that. I want everybody to be able to ride with me, but I find different ways, right? But it's about charging the value and not the price or the hourly, different things like that. So it is about the tiered, right? Because you can do, the nonprofit that you had, did you work for someone or was it your nonprofit?
I've always worked for other people.
Right. So imagine you build a company and then just in 2 or 3 years, you're able to start your own nonprofit. Like, and so when you're building the company, you have that in mind, and you're like, oh, and again, if you're working for a nonprofit that has $10 million a year, that doesn't have to be your life. Yours could be, I'm going to put out into the world $100,000 a year, because that's incredibly impactful. It just, you have to, I call it like lowering your own stakes, not your standards, but your stakes. So many of us think we have to raise this amount of money, or we have to make this amount of money, we have to do, and we're like, why? And it comes down to what we think we're supposed to do, what somebody told us we were supposed to do, what we read about. I'm reading you, I know. It's usually about that, but it's really, if we change the stakes for ourselves and we say, wait a second, okay, why do I think I need to have $1 million before I can start a nonprofit? Because I need to serve certain people. What if I said, instead of trying to serve 100 people, I tried to serve 2 and just change their lives? Wouldn't that be something? And can I start there? And what would that cost?
Just so y'all know, that's how this started.
Yeah.
I literally started in 2018 giving $200 out of my pocket every single month to people that I knew needed support.
There you are.
And then after that was over, and I didn't have that anymore, I would like literally see someone on social media post about having some issue, whether I knew them or not. You know how you meet people, your friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
But they're going through something. I've been through things in my life. I would hit them up and just say, hey, would you mind if I raise some money for you?
Yeah.
I hit up Carly, I hit up Larnie, I hit up TK. Can you send me $5? Can you send me $10? I'm going to give it to this person. Send a screenshot of what they're going through. And literally I would raise $200, $600 in like a week or so.
Yeah.
Literally, that's how it started. And then on my birthday, I threw a party. That was the DAWA Fund. Some of y'all were there. We raised $3,000 at that party before the pandemic. The pandemic hit. During that time, I set up a fund through the Austin Community Foundation. I set up an Instagram page, and I set up a website. I was talking about how people in this city that are my friends are either struggling to be here, going through all types of crises, but they are the best people in this city. And like that, I just communicated that through Facebook over and over again, and people sent in $5, $10. By June of 2020, because people were home and everything in the George Floyd, we raised $50,000. We gave away $40,000 in June of 2020, and that's the beginning of DAWA. This is before anyone was getting paid. Mm-hmm. This was all volunteer. I didn't get a single dollar in my pocket for working for DAWA until 2.5 years into this. We became a nonprofit in 2022. So what you're saying is literally like, yes, like exactly what is the origin of DAWA. That's what you're sitting inside of right now.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people think you have to be rich. Like I'll get rich and then I'll start giving back. You could do it today if you just change the stakes in your own mind. You could do. Somebody put on Instagram. This is an Instagram quote. I did not come up with this, but they said if you're feeling like you're helpless, right, or you can't do enough. They said do for one person what you wish you could do for thousands.
Exactly.
And that's so trippy because everybody can do something for one person. Yeah. Right now, like we all can do that, and that ripple effect. But if we're not doing anything because we're like I can't do enough, then you're right.
Questions? Right there, Jalen.
Arlan, I really appreciate your time and what you told us today.
Thank you.
Chaka's know I was one of those people who received the $200 grant from DAWA.
Yes.
Yeah. And wait, hold on. He started from that $200. He started a landscaping business.
Correct.
Has his own truck. He's hiring people.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So on that note, it's kind of an emotional topic, but I turned that $200 into $200,000 a year, and now we're just like, and it's crazy because it's people like you that help people like me help other people like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it means a lot, and I really appreciate your work. But I do have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're getting like serious in business, and people are kind of taking it serious, and things are gaining traction. I want to know, how do we go about securing funding, or where to look for funding that from people that look like me, or just...
Let's just stop with the first question. Why do you want funding?
Good question. Capital management. It gets harder sometimes of the year to manage cash flow when we get expenses that are higher than our income, and it's hard to have that difference, right? We need that charge more so we can have more in our pocket to go serve more to go
seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
Are you part of a credit union?
Yes, Velocity here in Austin.
Credit union. I know for us banking is not the best thing in the world, but credit unions tend to. There's someone I say this in this book. Credit unions tend to be more willing to work with you on a credit line, and again, so I know this happens like every day of my life. So I know that it could be a little frustrating for you to ask a question about fundraising, and I'm telling you these other ways to make money, but I'm doing it from a place of pure love, because the energy that you put into going out to find investors could be put into getting customers, could be put into having meetings with 3 different banks in town and credit unions and pitting them against each other and saying what you've built. And it can go into, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do.
Okay, and tell me a little bit, is it doing well?
I think so. Getting a lot of traction. I post daily.
Yes.
It's about create, educate, inspire.
Yes.
I want to create more landscaping, inspire people that look like me to go after their dreams.
Right. Yeah, so as long as you know that there's this one guy that I know, I watch him, I don't know what cities he's in, but he goes up to people who have like dilapidated front yards and they're elderly or disabled, and he says, can I just do the yard, I'm going to film it. He films himself doing it, takes like hours sometimes, and then he gets like 1 million views. And then people, like he got so many people booking him, he doesn't even book anymore. He just sells merch now. He doesn't even do backbreaking work. So the point of that is, I don't know if I can answer your question about getting funding at this point, because when you start saying, I went from $200 to $200,000, the last thing I'm thinking about is some investor coming in and having a say with that. Like you are the it's you. So if you have friends or if you already know people in town who are Black investors, because that's what you said, if you know them already and you want to offer them something, that's a conversation for sure. You say, I'm doing well, you can have a piece of this if they think it's a good deal. But if it's like starting from scratch with investors, I would spend the next 1 to 2 years going all in on your content, being very intentional about, I want to get X number of customers each week, and I'm going to base it on this piece of content doing this kind of conversion for me. I'm going to go all in on that, and I'm going to sit and figure out how I do change it from being so seasonal, because there are answers to that too. So I would just, I just don't know if I can answer the question about fundraising.
I think that's a great answer. I think it's important because I think everyone thinks about capital or coming from outside, but I mean,
it's fleeting. It goes away.
I'm glad you're grounding us in that, because I think that's kind of the mythology, or that's the thing.
Yeah, and it goes away. And like the fact that you have a company that you can probably show them 2 years of income. Okay, like certain seasons, of course, it's going to be different. But if you show them, maybe they can help you with the line of credit and faster than getting an investor, and then you don't have somebody calling you every single week saying, how's it going? Hey.
How's my money? Where's my money?
Then you might say, okay, I've done this. If I have one more person join and they are incredible at detailing cars, or they're incredible at cement driveways because there's all this construction going on, they're incredible at something. Could we add something that in the seasons that we don't do as well, that is just that thing we do for those 3 months? Or could we have that and just build from there, so that when we're sitting here a year from now, next South by, and we're on your first million stage and we're interviewing each other.
Let's go.
You say, yeah, I did $1 million. I did $1 million because we figured some stuff out. Because when you say, I met someone today who raised $4 million recently, and I was like, cool, great. If they had told me they had generated like a quarter of that, I would have been incredibly impressed. But raising money, no money is free. Yeah, what was the second question? He's like, I don't know if I want to answer that one.
No. That was great. That was great advice.
I guess if we were in those rooms of like VCs or requesting funding, what do we ask? So on the other side,
what do you ask?
Like what kind of questions, or what should we be prepared with? I don't know, like we need P&Ls, and this is how much we need. But more so, how do we present ourselves as BIPOC members to come across in a better light to...
Ooh, that gives me shivers down my back. If you have to present yourself in a better light because someone thinks that already has a bias towards you, don't take their money.
Get out.
Yeah, just get the heck out of there. I know what you're asking. I promise you I know what you're asking, but I still can't send you into those rooms.
You are the light.
With that
you are the light, bro.
They need to be raising their standards for you.
Exactly. You are the light.
For themselves, right? Like they need to... okay, I'll say this. I'm going to give you some of your, I'm going to answer one of your questions, okay? There's a woman named Jewel Burks in Atlanta. She's a Black woman who is a VC. She had a company. She sold it to Amazon. It was a whole thing. It was really cool. She made 6 or 7 millionaires in her company overnight. She now works at a VC. She teaches about how do you get yourself right for those rooms. So look her up, Jewel Burks. She's a great person. She will give you those answers that you're looking for. I'm going to still say to you, we used to joke, Jewel and I would say she was MLK and I was Malcolm X. Because it is that, or like I'm angry Obama and she's Obama. But I'm going to still say to you that you could be a millionaire in 2 years, if you didn't go out looking for venture funding or angel funding. I truly believe that. I think if you went and got angel funding and made $2 million in the next 2 years, that would be great, but it would be a whole different proposition. I think you could have the exact right type of YouTube channel that just gives you constant customers. You could have a whole kind of movement behind what you're doing, and you're an inspiration. You could help other people start their own landscaping companies, and they pay you a higher ticket for that. You could have workshops that you do. People fly in
You
from
taking notes, bro?
to learn. Yeah. So people flying in to learn from you.
Some game.
I mean, there's just so much you could do without like Charlie telling you what you're supposed to do tomorrow.
Good old Charlie. Good old Charlie. Trevor.
Charlie's
Taylor.
cool. Charlie's cool. And you're saying you want to raise from black people. I'm not even saying it's a race thing. I'm not saying even if you had that's why I said if you know someone who it's like, yeah, man, I got you. I'll give you 50,000 to give you that buffer. That's cool because it doesn't take up much of your time. For me, if I were like counseling you, like if I were coaching you, I would say we got to get you like 80 to 90% of your time has to be on the most highly leveraged thing that you do. The thing that brings you the most capital with the least amount of friction. And we need you doing that constantly.
Come on.
And then the rest of it can be these other things. And it includes like building up your team and being a leader and all of that. But none of it, in my view, would include getting venture ready or getting, and that's so crazy because I know like I still represent Backstage and I should be saying something different.
Nah.
But I'm trying to tell you the realest thing that's in my mind right now.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
Thank you. Man, are y'all inspired, man? I'll tell you what, we had a run this morning.
Oh yeah.
We did we outside, shout out Mercedes.
Yay.
I mean, it was like 70, 80, 100 black people out here running. I was just inspired. Now I'm sitting here, man, I'm not going to go to sleep tonight. I mean, I might go for a run right after this, man.
Yeah.
Listen, all right, a couple more questions. Anybody out there? This has been awesome.
We got, oh yeah, here.
How did you emotionally detach from money?
Oh, because you heard me when I said that earlier, huh?
Yes.
How did I emotionally detach from money? Well, first I'll tell you why I had a relationship with money, an emotional attachment to it. How many people feel like they have an emotional attachment now that we've said it? Yeah. I used to watch money be the reason that my mom cried. I used to watch money be the reason that I would get made fun of at school because if I didn't have something. I used to watch it make people argue with each other that I cared about. So it was always this, it was like a human or an entity that I interacted with.
A spirit.
Yeah, it was that. And so I always wanted to be rich. I'm like, I'm going to be rich so I'll never have to have any issues. And you know, and I was chasing it and I never had it. So I was so angry at it and frustrated. And the way that I stopped having that relationship with it is truly on the other side of having it and not even having it, but like playing with money. Because I have been in rooms with people who are billionaires. I've been sitting at tables with them, having conversations, millionaires. And what I notice about a lot of people who have money is that they seem extremely scared to lose any of it. So they seem captured by it. Like they're the prisoner of their own success.
Bars.
And I'm like, this is what I'm chasing? This is what I'm after?
Perspective.
Yeah. So there's that, and then there's also like, these are the people who are getting this money. Like when people do deals and stuff, and I'm like looking over the other side of the table. I'm like, Brett, like I could just run laps around Brett, you know. But Brett's making all the cheese, right? So it's that, and then it's also like when I realized too, and this didn't happen recently, happened a while ago, that I realized, oh, if somebody handed me 100 million or 200, whatever, that I wouldn't be stoked for it. But what I do get stoked is if someone says, hey, like I gave somebody $500, they took that and they were able to go and like do $100,000 like sponsorship deal for their blog. And they told me that. And I was like, that is exciting. That to me is exciting. And when I realized that I didn't want it handed to me, even though I spent most of my life chasing it, that's when I was like, whoa, it's not about money then. It can't be. It has to be about something else. So when I'm not going to have this enlightened conversation 12 or 10 years ago when I'm sleeping on the floor of an airport, I'm not going to have the capacity to do that because I'm hungry. I need to eat. I got to live somewhere. But on the other side of it, I can certainly tell you, it is the the reason I was broke until I was 35 is because I had a relationship with money, or I thought I did. The reason I have been able to raise $30 million, but more importantly, generate millions of dollars constantly since then, is because I now know that money is an inanimate object that is a tool that is used to barter and trade.
Come on, man.
That is all it is.
I don't think y'all heard that, but that hit. That hit. I heard it. Let's go with a couple more. We got a couple more. Okay.
You've got roots in Texas, and you've come to Austin a lot in the last few years. Do you see more Austin in your future?
Oh, it's like a press conference now.
I'm gonna answer that for it. Yes. Okay. Next question.
Yeah, I mean, where's Carly? Is Carly still here? Yeah. Like, Carly's the plug, right? So Carly's making a lot of opportunities down here for me, and I'm from Dallas. I grew up in Dallas. So there's no reason for it not to be more in the future.
We like the sound.
Yeah, I'm kind of a homebody. I think the only thing that stops me is that I'm a homebody. Like, I can stay in my place for like 2 weeks without leaving the front door. Is absolutely right, true. But then I go out and I can have years where I'm on the road for 300 days. Like, it is what it is. But yeah, absolutely.